This is Mark Bell, SuperTraining.tv, Super Training Gym, the strongest gym in the West. This is a Thursday night bench session at Super Training Gym. Thursdays and Saturdays seem to pop off quite a bit at Super Training Gym. It's when we have the most attendance, got the most people trying to fight for the same spots. This is 405 pounds. This is Marcus. He kind of misgrooved that first one. That's why I missed it. Cleans it up on the second one. We were kind of just testing his strength on this day to see where his bench is at. Here's Silent Mike going to about 345 pounds, it looks like. Good strong press by him. Mike has been working hard on keeping his form on the bench, and it's been a somewhat of a slow progression upward for him in the bench press, especially compared to like his squat. His squats moved pretty well. His deadlift for a while was flying pretty good. But sometimes a lift like the bench press, or the lift that you're the weakest in, you know, a 10-pound increase can sometimes be a kind of a monumental feat. And but the point is that it's all going to pay off for him in the end. If you continue to believe in what you're doing and you continue to try to find new ways. Here's 505, blasting up for a double. Look how happy that guy with the beard is. If you continue to believe in what you're doing, and you continue to refine what you're doing, it will work in your favor, especially if you're trying to do things the right way. It's when you start getting chaotic and you start forcing the issue too much that's when you get hurt, and that's when you also have trouble making any further progress. There's 435 by Marcus, a little bit of a kind of a bounce. We got to, like I said earlier, we got to get him to work on a little bit of a pause, and that way he'll be more familiar with meat. He'll be more familiar with his meat. He'll be more familiar with how it's done in the meat. Speaking of working on their form, there was Big Bill. He's been working on his form a lot, and that was a PR for him, 455. If you go back and watch that footage, you'll notice that Bill pushes the weight back into the rack as he unracks the weight. As the weight's unracked to him, he's still not taking the bar out low enough where he needs to. He won't relax his shoulders. And the way you start is the way you finish. And if you have your shoulders internally rotated and forward, they're going to stay that way throughout the lift, and you're going to overpress, and you're going to push too far, and basically just overextend your benches where they don't need to be. Now we moved into some speed benches. You can see us flying around here with some chains. That is how a speed bench should be done. That was myself going. Should be done as explosively as possible. Robot on the tippy toes. Whenever you see someone benching like that, it's because they have tight hips and they need to drive their heel down towards the ground. Now this is a little bit higher of a bench, so it's a little bit pain in the ass to get the heel down. But if you feel screwed up in that way, you'll need to, I don't know what these guys are doing. If you feel screwed up in that way, that you're tight in the hips, get a shoe with an elevated heel, like an Olympic shoe or a high heel. Olympic shoe or something of that nature. I wear a Reebok Olympic shoe. It's got an elevated heel, and I'm able to keep my heels down nice and flat on the bench press. Doesn't sound like it would make a huge difference, but it really does. I see people benching in chucks all the time, and I just see them kind of slipping around and not having the same grip. It's not even just about the grip, it's just about being able to keep that heel down. But that's the speed, and that's the violence you want to try to put into the bar when you're doing your explosive training. If you're moving slower than that, it could be several factors. Could be the bars the weight on the bar is a little bit too heavy. It could also be that you're not trained enough to move that fast. And when you're not trained enough to move that fast, you'll have to move slower for a little while. You'd have to build your maximal strength in order to start to move those lighter weights a little faster. Now we moved into some Spoto presses. This kind of lift will teach you to kind of use your lats. You're letting the weight hover there. You're not letting that weight move at all. Staying tight. staying tight and not letting that weight dip down the best you can. It's really tough. It's a tough exercise, but it's a great one. We're also trying to implement a little bit of a pause in there. If you try to reverse the weight from there, even without the pause, it's really difficult. It just, I don't know why, but it feels foreign to me. I'm not used to it. Eric Spoto kind of likes that range of motion. There's some bodybuilders that don't mind that range of motion. But you can see this new bench that we're on. It's pretty sweet. This is an elite bench. Has a fat pad, a big old pad on it. The one disadvantage of the fat pad is it makes the bench a little bit higher up, and then it changes some of the specs of the arm. So it kind of messes things up a tad, but it's a great bench. The pad is soft and you can sink into it well. This is David, and from what I remember, he just had an abomination of a bench night. I wasn't able to get over to him and help him. He was struggling, and then he got out of his shirt, and you got to be in your shirt for a long time. If you want to learn the powerlifting gear and you take the time to get into it, you got to be in it for a long time. Juan's just been struggling as of late, having some crooked presses, not being able to lock the weights out, things of that nature. But hopefully it's something he can clean up and fix as he gets ready for the November meet. There he goes again. Tresson, on the other hand, has been doing quite well with his benches, and I'm hoping that he can bench over 750, get a nice fat PR. Juan's benches were moving much smoother a few months ago, and he's having difficulty kind of selecting weights for himself at this point. Some of the weights that used to move easy, some of the weights that used to move fairly fast, are now kind of moving like shit. So he's not quite sure what the hell to do with himself. There's Kara Weston benching off some boards. And this is Greg Buffington. Oh my God. G-Buff hammering out a strong press there. I believe Kara struggled on this day too. Getting into bench shirt, it can be a real pain in the ass, and trying to figure out how often to be in it and so on and so forth can be a real pain in the ass. You can be in it way too little for sure, and you can certainly be in it for way too many training sessions. But when you do get into it, make sure you're in it for a while. Make sure you get a good amount of sets in, a good amount of work in. Strength is never a weakness, and that is it from Super Training TV.